Have you ever heard of that awful, infamous term, lesbian bed death? What is up with that name? It sounds like there's dead people in people's beds. Oy vey. Where does this term even come from? There was a researcher named Schwartz, and in 1983 she did a study in which she found that of all types of couples, lesbians were having the least amount of sex. And although that research study was quite flawed, this term became very well known in the lesbian community, and people became worried at the first sign that the sex was waning in the relationship. They were like, freaking out that maybe the sex is going to die in my relationship. And the problem with this label is it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, which isn't necessarily true. Granted, naturally, over time, sex does tend to wane in most relationships, but this is not something you really need to be worried about. This is very common. But I also want to let you know that there are things we can do to help you create and sustain and maintain a long-term, fulfilling, passionate relationship. One thing I want to tell you is my old professor, Walter Brackelmans, used to say that good sex is planned sex. Remember those days when you first got together and you used to plan for your sexual encounters? You'd shower, you'd shave, you'd groom yourself, you'd bring your partner a rose, you'd say nice words, you would do all these things that would create this intimate, loving atmosphere, and you knew that night that sex was going to happen. You planned for it. Well, what happens over time, we get so busy with life, you know, the homework and the kids and the job and the dog walking and the cat feeding, that we just end up not planning sex anymore. You know, we really need to have a mindfulness around sex and mindful to make that effort to plan that time and have sex. If life just happens, the sex won't happen. So you want to make sure it's included and that it's part of your life and it's regular. Some couples, sex is less important. Some couples, sex is more important. But, you know, generally sex brings people closer together. So it is a way of creating intimacy. It is a way of creating closeness. So we want to help you, foster you to do that. In my next video, I will talk about how do you create a hot, passionate sex life. And remember, even if you're straight, we're all a little bit queer.